Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Alrighty, so we have an appointment at 5:35 with Officer Hill. Do you have anything for us before that? When you schedule me 5:35 meetings, I'm going to fill the gap. I don't like silence.
Why don't you?
I'm not good at it.
All right, couple things.
Okay.
I got the parade route for the Memorial Day Parade from Jeff Rule, our Veterans Agent. Just so you know, I gave you all a copy of it, so you can have it. Second item is, speaking with Dave DeRozier regarding yard waste days. We're looking at for the spring, May 21st and June 4th. In the fall, October 29th and November 19th. And for the bulky waste day, we're looking at September 17th. Also, I was able to enter into a 3-year contract with Republic Services for the disposal of our municipal solid waste. Year 1, it's $94 a ton. Year 2 is $97.76 a ton. And year 3 is $101.67 per ton. And that went into effect as of April 14th, when the trash burner got closed.
Okay.
So, a little bit of scrambling, but we were able to get something.
How did that set us as far as cost versus before?
Yeah.
When we were bringing it to Community Eco Power, it was $81.60 currently. It was going to go to $83 next year, and it was going to go to $85 the year after.
So that's quite a bit different.
But this was one of the cheaper ones that we got for a quote. So, because they were talking almost $100 right now. And then it was going to be escalated by the CPIU each year, but no less than 2.5%.
It'll be interesting to see from this point, from April 14th to the end of the year, what the difference cost us versus the company would have had, just to see how much more additional funds it costs the town. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see that.
We'll be able to figure that out.
Yeah.
So, I'm just glad we have a place to bring it.
Now, when is that contract, when's that end?
When does it end?
So it was
Yes.
effective April 14th?
It's effective April 14th, 2022, so it'll end April 13th, 2025.
25, yeah.
And at that point, we'll probably be ready to rebid the curbside collection contract, and hopefully we can do both the collection and disposal on one contract.
Okay.
Hopefully.
Well, there's 3 years to work on it.
Actually, it takes about a year to go through the bidding process for that type of contract.
From start to finish. Semantics, people, semantics. Alrighty. It's close enough to 5:35.
Just curious where
Yeah.
labor councils.
Do you want to just give them a quick sec?
What fund that meeting?
He's not on.
Okay, are you ready to come on? Yeah, we're on. We're on.
You don't want me to play with electronics.
I don't want to put it in my plans.
You said it was when to be letter. All right, you got a pen with you? Its meeting ID is 288-570-269. Okay. Yeah.
Sorry, technical difficulties.
You have arrived. Okay. All right, sir.
You all ready? Are you set, Kendall? Yeah. Okay, so we had originally planned to go into executive session. We were informed that you had wished to waive your rights and do this in public. Is that still the case?
Yep.
All right, come on up.
Have we counsel with you?
Yes.
Come on.
Am I permitted to?
You are?
Absolutely.
Thank you. We'll start. Officer Hill here is fully capable of answering your questions. Thank you for having us here tonight. It's on the agenda. I appreciate that very much. My name is Attorney Nathan Olin, O-L-I-N. I'm a partner of the law firm of Olin and Lipiello here in Western Mass. I represent employees exclusively for the past over a decade in Western Mass, and prior to that I was more than a decade as a career lawyer for the federal judiciary in Western Mass and in Springfield. I worked at big firms and some government work prior to that as well. I'm sorry that we have to be here tonight because I think this is a simple request that should be easily resolved. I've sent some correspondence, but I'll summarize some of that here for the record, at least on behalf of my client officer, Kendall Hill Manning. Most of you know her as Officer Hill, so if I call you Officer Manning, I apologize, but she is here with us today. We are pleased to report that she's pregnant and has a due date at the end of August. What brings us here is the intersection of some of the facts around what's happened here in the town of Granby, as well as the law The law is a variety of different laws that potentially come into play here. Most centrally is what's known as the Massachusetts Pregnant Workers Fairness Act, but certainly other laws potentially come into play, including Title VII, the Civil Rights Act, the Pregnancy Discrimination Act, the Family Medical Leave Act, the ADA, and Massachusetts state law around that as well. But with the centralization of the PFMA, it's pretty clear. You can't discriminate against employees due to pregnancy or conditions related to pregnancy. And perhaps most significantly, you must grant as an employer reasonable accommodation for employees' pregnancy or any condition related to pregnancy. You can't take any adverse employment actions against pregnant employees, and the town can't require an employee to accept a particular accommodation if other reasonable accommodations allow the employee to perform the essential functions of her job. You can't require an employee who's pregnant to take a leave if another reasonable accommodation may be provided without undue hardship. That phrase, undue hardship, is not one that is necessary to come from our side of the table here. It's really the town needs to articulate what an undue hardship might be. That would be the town's burden. And perhaps most significantly here, if the town or any employer doesn't act in good faith or act slowly on these, that in itself can be considered a violation of the PFMA. The facts around here are as follows. You all know Officer Hill has been here for a number of years, since 2014, full-time officer for the last 3 years or so. She's currently the only female in the force. She's never been disciplined, and as far as we know, she's the only police officer in the town of Granby's history who's ever been pregnant. She brought to the attention of her supervisor, Chief O'Grady, 2.5 months ago, that she was pregnant and that she was going to request some accommodations. We're 2.5 months later and the accommodations have not yet been met. Let me be clear, the only two accommodations that Officer Hill has sought are as follows: temporary removal from routine patrol shifts and temporary reassignment to less hazardous in-station plainclothes duties. Those two things can be easily accomplished by the town between now and August 27th. Should Chief O'Grady decide to allow that to happen, it could happen tomorrow. In fact, it needs to happen tomorrow. Every day that goes by that she is on full patrol shifts is a day that we're concerned about. Most notably because of equipment issues. That's a second part. We've seen the conversations with Chief O'Grady seem to have been tied up around equipment issues. What do we mean by that? Officer Hill has, since at least March 8th, specifically requested that that she receive new equipment, duty belt and ballistic vest that would fit her, fit herself as she goes through her pregnancy. But that's only as she remains on active duty. And that's where she is today, and that's where she will be again tomorrow morning. Since that March 8th letter, we've gotten, or Officer Hill, I should say, and now me as our attorney have received a variety of different communications from the town through Chief O'Grady that have dismissed what you call accommodations based on your pregnancy, suggested that she maybe should just begin her maternity leave 5 months early, stated that I don't believe in the concept of reasonable accommodations, that they apply to a situation such as yours, and concluded perhaps an unpaid leave of absence makes the most sense. He's put the burden on Officer Hill to come up with equipment solutions, and never once has he articulated what I said is the most important thing for any employer to articulate, is what would be the undue burden on behalf of the town. It's not been articulated. We don't see it. We'd be prepared to address anything that would be proffered as such. Every other town that we've come across in Western Massachusetts and elsewhere have had no problem putting pregnant female officers on modified duty where one, They are temporarily removed from patrol shifts and 2, temporarily reassigned to less hazardous in-station plainclothes duties for a very short period of time. There will be likely some cost.
Can I ask you a question on that? Do you know what departments those were in?
The ones that I'm particularly aware of are, let me make sure I say correctly, I believe it was Long Meadow, South Hadley,
Amherst,
Amherst, yeah.
Belchertown.
Belchertown, that's right.
It was in Belchertown. I know J-Lo out of, sorry, Detective Lopez out of Amherst.
Yes.
I know about her,
I'm not sure who the officer was.
yeah. Okay, sorry for interrupting.
No, I'll take any questions you have, and like I said, Officer Hill is more than capable to answer the specifics from her particular situation. And I'm almost done. Since, I sent a letter to the town, now it's been a couple of weeks, we've been very concerned that this, that Chief O'Grady hasn't just made a decision under his authority. I don't know why we even need to be here to have this decision. 2, it seemed to be that's what the chief preferred, to get it on the agenda here. And now for about 3 weeks, we've been trying to get it on the agenda here because every day that goes on, Officer Hill is on active duty in clothes that probably don't fit right and perhaps and are certainly a potential danger to her and the community, which she serves so dutifully and expeditiously. We want a decision tonight that she gets this modified duty request. Any taking this under advisement would be a concern of ours. And let me also say, we've also decided not to file anything with the Commission Against Discrimination as of today. As of tomorrow, we don't know. As of the next day, we don't know. But those would be our backstop if we would need to get someone else involved. I'm certain we don't need to do that. I'm highly confident that we can reach a resolution here tonight, and we welcome any questions that you have, either for me or for Officer Hill.
Can you explain to me what undue hardship is, in your understanding? And I'll ask the chief that.
That's the burden of the town, to come up with an explanation as to why they think what the reasonable accommodations that we've requested would be an undue hardship for the town. In no response we got from the chief has that phrase undue hardship ever been articulated, and that would be a question that we would ask you.
Okay.
Do you have any questions for him?
I do. Attorney
Maybe
Olin, you spoke about a conversation. Did you have the conversations with Chief O'Grady, or was it Officer Hill?
I've not had conversations with Chief O'Grady.
Okay.
Not at all. All I've seen is correspondence, and it has been conversations that I've heard from my client.
Okay. Thank you. Officer Hill, so the current ballistic vest you have doesn't fit?
It does not fit.
Okay, and then your, the duty belt doesn't fit?
It doesn't fit.
Okay.
My pants don't fit either.
Okay,
And probably my shirt pretty soon.
okay.
Council's okay if we ask her the questions, you want to go through you?
You can ask her questions. I'm fully confident if it's something that I feel is a concern, I'll be more than happy to speak up, but I doubt that.
Have you used up your whole uniform allowance?
Yes, I
Okay,
did.
when was the next time you get it?
July 1st. my
Okay, so
uniform
that's,
comes out.
okay.
Yep.
Actually, I want to ask Chief O'Grady a question. Is wearing a ballistic vest, is that mandatory?
We do have a policy for this.
Okay. So your ballistic vest doesn't fit,
That's correct.
and you've been patrolling with it or without it?
I have been patrolling with it. I suck it in and don't really breathe well for
Okay.
the 20 minutes I'm on call.
Okay. And I'm assuming nowadays with ballistic vests, it's not easy just to order one It takes time
Well, the
now.
correspondence through Attorney Collins asked that she go and check on that, and I believe it was 3 to 6 months, Ken?
Yeah.
Yeah, I went to Guardian Uniform. They
Yeah.
said that it would be pointless to order one because it would be at least 3 months, but more likely 6 before.
To
it
get
came
new
in.
one?
Yes.
Which at time you're not gonna need one, 6 months.
Exactly what he said.
Kind of a waste.
All right.
Are you mandated to go through Guardian? Is there, Century doesn't have any, or is that the, oh, I should probably ask Kevin that question, sorry.
We usually use them, and that goes through Point Blank. I don't remember what, I don't know if Century still Point Blank, or still another one.
Okay.
You know,
And nothing online or something to get it here quicker than that?
we can, go ahead, I'm
I'm
sorry.
sorry. I believe I don't know how to articulate this or the law, but I think that I'm allowed to have the same exact equipment as my colleagues do, so.
We certainly would make that argument, and just so we're clear, my understanding is that these equipment issues don't need to be addressed. The cost doesn't need to be borne by anyone if she can be provided this modified duty between now and August.
Which is understood, however, I just want to make sure that we understand that what's available, what's not available for resources for us, that's all, so.
Absolutely, yeah.
Chief, the request is reassignment to in-station assignments. What would an in-station assignment be?
We've never really had them, so we have to try to come up with different things to do.
Like?
Maybe if some people come in, we can talk with them, you know, do like reports in the station rather than responding to calls. Maybe some pistol permit filing,
So it would be more like a desk officer?
kinda, but again, it's never been done, so we have to come up with some ideas and kind of different things as we go, you know.
Okay. Would we have enough to fill a 40-hour work week?
Can't say yes on a regular basis. I mean, things, you know, we get different things here and there, you know.
Okay.
Chief, would that be, if you put her on that shift, does that mean moving in a fellow officer to another shift up? Besides, I don't know, do you bid jobs now?
We bid shifts.
Bid shifts?
Bid shifts. They asked for a modified work, they didn't ask for a modified schedule, so it would just be, we'd have to fill every shift is what we'd have to do. So there's budgetary impact and potentially contract impact.
Okay.
And how much court work do you have?
You
Not much.
know,
Not
it's been
40-hour
slow.
week.
It's been slow, you know.
Yeah, it has.
You know, the courts don't go on to see people still, it's crazy.
What about, did you try getting a duty belt?
Yeah, so when I attempted to buy the pants at Guardian, she suggested that they could put in a maternity band into the pants, which I thought sounded super comfy and great. However, when they do that, they remove the stitching in the front, which actually removes the 2 belt loops as well. So then it would flop around, leaving the gun unsecure as well. So I didn't get a new duty belt this time.
I don't know, this might be a question for our council, but I'm going to ask you first, Chief. Do we offer reassignments for other employees that are
We don't
unable
have
to
a light
perform
duty-
patrol?
We don't have a light duty veteran.
You don't have a light duty
That is not in the
policy?
contract, no.
Okay, that's what you meant by contractual,
Yes.
okay.
So, again, so if you moved her to a day shift job in-house, it becomes a hardship on your budget by moving other people, officers around?
Well, we can't move other officers around.
can't move
first of all.
because of the bid,
They
right.
bid shifts every 6 months, but it does, either way, it impacts the budget financially. We're talking about filling 5 additional shifts a week.
And what shift you work now?
I work Tuesday, Wednesday days, Thursday, Friday evenings, and then Saturday days. And actually, I don't believe it would be all 5 shifts. As of right now, my Saturday shift, there is no dispatcher assigned. So every Saturday, I dispatch. So it would potentially be 4 that would have to be filled.
Just to add to that, if one of the other officers is out, the way the contract is set up, dispatchers get first right of refusal until the end of June. So potentially, a dispatcher can take the shift and we'd have to fill a dispatch shift and another shift.
So you're not assigned dispatch on Saturdays?
No.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I was understanding.
There's a lot of like weird scheduling things that we have. So for example, when the SRO is out of the schools on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, starting June 16th, whenever school ends, there's going to be an extra patrolman assigned to my Tuesday and Wednesday shifts, which leaves me virtually extra on patrol. We won't have to fill it. So that's the same case for my Friday evening shifts. There's generally an extra patrolman that's assigned right now. So if someone calls out, it doesn't need to be filled. So potentially for those 3 days a week, they don't have to be filled.
SRO, School Resource Officer,
That's correct.
it's just for TV.
Yep.
Does Jack have any input for us?
Jeff, do you have any input for us?
Sure. Let's talk about what the law requires first, and then my attitude is I'll tell you what you have to do, what you can do, and it's your decision to decide whether or not you're going to do something. So let's take it one at a time. When they wrote the letter, as I understand it, the officer had a conversation a couple of months ago with the chief, in which he informed him that she was pregnant, but his recollection was that she asked him to keep it confidential, which she did. Then a few weeks ago, we got an email from the officer saying, by the way, I'd like to have you give you reasonable accommodation, the same kind of thing she's talking about right now. I'd like to start them around April 1st. He wanted to know what he had to do, so I told him, we call it the interactive process, that you really want to sit and talk with the employee and see if you can find, common ground where you can meet their needs while also meeting the town's needs. He asked me, and the town administrator did as well, what are we required to do, because their letter talked about the ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act, and the Family Leave Act, and things like that. I explained that those don't apply in this situation. She's not disabled at this point in time. She's not physically disabled. She can, as she said, she told the chief, and she put in writing, hey, look, I'm not physically disabled. I can do all that. And she, rightly suggested to the chief that she just finished running the Holyoke road race. So it's not a question of being physically disabled. If she were physically disabled, some of those laws would kick in. But I think her counsel correctly stated that there is a recent Massachusetts law that got passed in 2018, I believe, which is the Pregnancy Worker Fairness Act. And that's new, so we don't have a lot of decisions under that, and I haven't seen any, quite frankly, that deal with police officers or pregnant police officers yet. But the thrust of all that is that you are not to do something to a pregnant officer or a pregnant employee but treats them worse than you would with another employee in a similar situation, meaning that they, for some reason, needed some accommodation. So right now, we're basically in uncharted ground in terms of deciding whether or not their version or a different version is correct, but giving them the benefit of the doubt. The MCAD wants to know, have you engaged in any interactive process? And that's the first thing. So the chief certainly met with her a couple of times and is doing what he can to try to find a way to accommodate. He took a look at the contract, he looked at the collective bargaining agreement, he looked at his schedule, and I think the bottom line comes down to that what the officer is asking is, would you essentially create a light duty position for me where the town's never had one before? Now, all the cases under the ADA and the FMLA and so on have been very clear that you're not ever required to create a position for someone and then fill it with them as a reasonable accommodation. So that's not a reasonable accommodation that any courts or any MCAD type of agencies in the past have ever adopted. Okay? It doesn't mean you can't do it, it just means you're not required to do it. So that's at least the first thing. Secondly, you have a situation where the union's involved, and at this point in time, many places, and it may very well be that, the places like Long Meadow and South Hadley and Amherst and Belchertown, I don't know, it may very well be that they have light duty positions. The law is pretty clear that if you have a light duty position that you've been offering to other officers, just for example, supposing an officer was injured in the line of duty, suppose an officer had a serious cancer and had exhausted, their bleed and things like that, and you had a light duty position and you created it or you filled it with them, then you'd have to treat a pregnant officer the same way. You could not say, well, by the way, we did that to somebody else, but that's because he or she was injured on the job or because of something else. So the first thing under the Fairness Act is you have to treat this officer the same as you have other officers in the past. And since you've never had a light duty position in the past, you're not required to create one. That's the first thing. Number two, in terms of whether or not her version of whether you can keep me busy for 40 hours a week or things like that, and the chief's version, are not the same. I don't hear either of them right now trying to find a way to make it any more difficult for you. But my conversations with the chief, and I think you can ask him, the suggestions that the officer made about filling in here and helping out a sexual assault there and going to court, those might once in a while come into play. So if you looked at a 40-hour week, you might very well be able to fill a couple of hours with one thing and a couple of hours with another thing. But unless I'm mistaken, the chief's position is that there's no way in the world he could find busy work, station work, non-patrol work for anyone to keep them busy anywhere near 40 hours. And quite frankly, it doesn't sound like it would be an 8-hour period, but that's you discussed. So getting back to a couple of other things. Right now, what are you required to do? You're required to engage in an interactive process. That is a good faith effort on both parties to see if they can't find the middle ground that will address her concerns and not unduly burden the town. If you were Boston, for example, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Council wouldn't have to be here because Boston would find some place where they would put this person far away from the public, and they might file, they might write reports, they might do any number of things that would not involve any having to wear a vest or a duty belt or things like that. You're not Boston. You're about as far away physically and also size-wise from Boston as you get. So at this point in time, there's no legal requirement that you create a light duty position, and there's no requirement that you find work for somebody at this point in time just because they're pregnant. If she were disabled at this point in time, she could start using some of her family medical leave time. And that's a 12-week period of time when you're not able to do the essential functions of the job with or without accommodation. And you'd have to see, first of all, could you accommodate her? And number two, she could take some time off. Under your bylaw, your town bylaw, you have a provision that has a 12-week provision for someone who is pregnant. So all of your town employees, when they have pregnant, are able to ask you, by the way, can I have 12 weeks off around the time when the child is born? Now that's not paid, it's unpaid leave. Okay? If they happen to get sick because of the pregnancy, they have some complications, they can use some sick leave if they have some available. But you're not required to find them a job, You're not required to pay them for that 12 weeks. You're only required to let them go for those 12 weeks and hold their job at the end of that period to let them come back. So I don't want to throw too many legal things at you, but my job here is not to say whether you ought to be compassionate or not. Let's understand that today we have a different world. It was years ago where the female percentage of police departments is not like it is today. 12% of the population of police officers in the country is female right now. So we're dealing with new issues. We're trying to find a way to accommodate and attract more women, not chase people away. So at this point in time, if in fact this officer was having medical problems related to the pregnancy, I'd be able to give you great advice. This is exactly what you do. There's not a place that I'm aware of, okay, and you know I do this a fair amount, okay, where someone says, oh, by the way, I'm pregnant, I want you now to create a light duty position for my entire pregnancy, okay, and at this point in time, 5 months in advance of the pregnancy would be most unusual. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, not saying it doesn't happen in some places that have light duty, but places that don't have light duty, to my knowledge, none has then decided, okay, we have to create a light duty position to fill it. Okay? So now, having said all that, what is the real undue hardship on the town? The undue hardship probably comes down to money, honestly. Okay? And usually, money alone doesn't satisfy the requirement for being an undue hardship. Okay? It's not going to put the town into bankruptcy, but it's going to cost a lot of money. The question is, where is the money coming from, and does the department have it in its budget? I think that's a pretty easy answer, because most chiefs at this point in time in April of any year would say, I know how much money is left in my budget for the rest of this year that's been appropriated. Okay? And if you were to right now carry this officer until the end of August, my guess is, and I'm just guessing based upon the size of the town, that would cost you $25,000 or $30,000 just to pay her, you know, for that period of time. The chief has indicated he'll have to replace her on other shifts that she's not coming in for. So the cost would not be the same, because the people would be coming in a time and a half. So it might very well cost you, if you fill all of her shifts, something closer to $40,000 or $45,000. I don't have those numbers, and the chief could probably put them together for you. Unless I'm mistaken, the chief has not anywhere near that kind of money available sitting in his account. Doesn't mean the town might not have other sources that they could find. Okay? But in the big picture, take one at a time. Are you required to create a position? No. If you create a light duty position, should you believe that it'll be filled productively? No. Out of compassion, will you decide you want to do something? That's completely your business. The law doesn't address that issue. But you're not required to do what's being asked of you right now. In terms of other pregnant females around the country, okay, the questions about equipment are usually the ones that come up first. It used to be, not that many years ago, and you probably saw this with the state police, that paternalistically, you know, good-feeling chiefs, most of which were men, used to say to the female officer, oh, maybe you should stop working after the first trimester or second trimester, all those things there. It was felt that we were taking care of the fetus, they taking care of the mother. We don't do that anymore at all. At this point in time, it's a decision to be made between the employee and her doctor. Okay. At this point in time, you have a modest letter, politely, from her doctor, which essentially echoes the officer's request, like, you know, please put her on light duty. You're not at all saying that she's disabled, not saying she can't perform the essential functions of the job, okay? It's the kind of letter, quite frankly, we see a lot from people who just say, the doctor, please give me a note and I'll get it. Okay, I don't mean to disparage anybody, but that's really what you've got there. So, given all those things there, if you and the officer can find something you all can live with, that's fine. The chief is in a position where he can't make those decisions in terms of spending money he doesn't have. Okay, it's a criminal offense for him to do that. Okay, so, as he pointed out in one of his memos to the officer, that the Board of Selectmen is the appointing authority, and they ultimately are the ones who have to make some decisions here. So the chief has gone as far as he could. He engaged interactively with the officer, trying to find out if there's something within his purview that he could do that would make all this work. And it looks to me as though he's saying, politely, no, I know. I can't afford to do what you're asking. I can't work with the union and change people's shifts against their will. I've got this issue with the dispatchers. So there's a lot of constraints on the chief. it sounds to me as though, and I hear her counsel saying they want an answer tonight. If you give them one, that's fine. If you continue the interactive process and you have the chief look into some of the things that are being suggested right now and come up with some numbers and some figures and things like that, and you continue that, that's not unreasonable. Okay? So I'm trying to anticipate what questions you might ask, but that's where you are. So you can stick to the law and say, no, we can't give you what you're looking for. Okay? The things she's saying to you are quite true. Because she's just going now to look for a new vest or get fitted for a new vest, it will take at least 3 months for any of the companies to deliver it, and that's not a practical solution at the moment. Okay? Your previous chief had a vest there that's probably a good size and would probably cover her, for the next few months if she wanted to talk about that. But that's not for me to say. In terms of the pants and the shirt, those are normal things that come up. So I'm sure the equipment people she talked to there said, hey, other pregnant females have had us expand the pants, have done this with the belt and things like that. Will it always be comfortable? When you wear a duty belt, it's not comfortable every day. Okay? If you're wearing a duty belt but you've got pants that are not always the right size, there may be some level of discomfort. Will it be disabling? Will it prevent you from doing your job? Quite frankly, no. So again, I'm answering questions that I just anticipate you'll be asking. If you've got others that I haven't addressed, let me know.
A variety of responses.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Chiefs of the past have been paternalistic. Chief O'Grady on March 30th said, perhaps an unpaid leave of absence makes the most sense. It's a criminal offense to spend money that you don't have. Well, it's also a violation of the law not to accommodate a pregnant worker as she approaches the most critical time of her pregnancy. I think the estimation of $20,000 to $45,000 is widely an overreach, but I'm not in charge of the town's finances and I don't know. What hasn't been taken into account is it's not 5 months between now and the end of the pregnancy, it's 4 months. There's a 3-week vacation that's already built into that. You folks are looking at probably a 3-month period of time that somebody needs to figure out how to accommodate Officer Hill. A couple of other points about the law. It's not as clear-cut as your town council would suggest. The Americans with Disability Act certainly has long been applied in these kinds of circumstances when we apply here as well as need be. The term reasonable accommodation certainly has come from both of these laws. It's one that is definitely at play here. But we seem to be getting caught up in this phrase, interactive process. At some level, the town is obliged to put down on record what the undue hardship is. Officer Hill has fulfilled her requirement to say what she believes is a reasonable accommodation. We have not seen anything in writing, anything that of any significant legal force that would suggest that anything that she has suggested is an undue hardship for the town. Council appropriately said that monetary considerations don't cut it, and if that's all that we're talking about, then that's certainly not enough to get over any kind of hump. Had an undue hardship ever been articulated whatsoever? We've heard contractual issues. I've not heard a peep from a union member who would be concerned about this. I've not heard any whisper of any contract issue that would somehow preclude the town from accommodating its first and only pregnant police officer for a very short period of time. In fact, these laws apply well outside the collective bargaining agreement. They apply to every worker in Massachusetts. And certainly they apply to law enforcement officers who at their core are supporting each and every one of us every day of the week. I guess the final point that I would make with respect to this, there's also some mischaracterization of the FMLA. In Massachusetts, we also have a paid Family Medical Leave Act, which would come into effect once someone would invoke that. It's disingenuous to suggest that those periods of time are what is required now. That's exactly what the PFML, I'm sorry, the Pregnancy Fairness Workers Act was designed to circumvent, and why that law is in existence now. It is not brand new. It's on its 4th year now. There is case law, and the town of Granby has, I think, the distinct possibility of becoming an outlier should they not find a way to provide a modified duty assignment for a very short period of time.
Council,
Yeah.
if we moved a union member off his day shift or whatever shift to accommodate her, you think she would speak up ASAP? Why are you moving me off of my shift? I think you haven't heard from a union member yet because of that issue. But I think once you remove them from, I like to say day shift, so we can get her in there. I think that would be a problem. You would hear from the union loudly on that. Yeah.
I think I can respond to that.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure, go ahead.
I believe Chief O'Grady actually already mentioned, because we have shift bids, that there would be no moving of officers. Is that correct?
Correct.
So there would be no reassignment of union member. Further, Jim Bartolome is our union representative, and he has been involved in every step of the way. He's been given every correspondence that I've gotten between myself, Chief O'Grady, and the council here as well. So, and they find nothing wrong with it. And furthermore, I've also reached out to union members as well, obviously on the department, because I also don't want to step on union member toes, especially as their union president.
Especially in a small department.
Exactly. So I will say a lot of my coworkers right now, they don't want to see me out on patrol, and a lot of them don't like even letting me leave the station. If there's still other officers to go, they say, "You're staying here, we got it." So.
Appreciate that, but you think they would be willing to give up their shift so you could work inside?
There's no giving up of shifts.
Okay.
So, yep.
Officer Hill, what were some of the jobs that you had recommend, or you had thought you would be?
So I spoke with, well, first of all, there's desk officers, so we get a lot of walk-in issues that come into the station, or people call, credit card fraud, stuff like that. There's just other things where people come into the station. I could still take those. I'm still a trained sexual assault investigator. Any sexual assault, which always takes a significant amount of time to investigate, I can still do those because they're controlled environments, and a lot of the time it's not recommended that you wear a uniform for sexual assault investigations. I think dispatching is another one. There's the LTC processing, there's delivering of the LTCs, there's the property room. I spoke with the person who's in charge of the property room. There's apparently a ton of work that needs to be done in there, destroying old firearms, drugs, things like that, organization. That's just off the top of my head. There was probably more as well.
Sorry, I'm just making notes.
But as much as I think, and I appreciate telling us what needs to be done, and what officers are talking about what needs to be done, that's Chief O'Grady's call what needs to be done inside the department, and what work is required to be done on that point. So I understand what you're saying, other officers saying this can be done, but in all fairness, that's Chief O'Grady's direction to make that happen, to what he feels done. I do have a couple questions. So if we were able to get a ballistic vest for you, say by end of the week, that was possible, and the correct duty belt so it fit correctly for you, could you continue patrol?
I could.
Okay. For how long?
I don't know until
Okay.
that ballistic vest doesn't fit.
Okay. Because I'm just wanting, Chief, I'm going to direct this to you. Is it possible for us to make contact directly with the company that makes the ballistic vest that the officers currently have, to see if they can sell it directly to us and not go through Central Uniform?
We can try.
And then my next question would be, is it possible that a surrounding town that may have a ballistic vest that one of their pregnant officers had at one time would be able to lend to us if it's the same type, same brand, same kind as the other officers in Granby wear.
We can check, but they do recommend that they're only good for 5 years, so depending on how long.
With that consideration though, is there, like I said, is there a surrounding town that may say, yes, we're willing to help you out, we can provide this, ballistic vest to you, just so we're covering those bases, because I mean, just looking at that part of it.
I would just like to add that all of our other ballistic vests, they get sized to our bodies, so.
Right, and I would want it to fit correctly. I mean, obviously, I mean, I'm not just saying we're gonna go grab one and give it to you. I would want it to, I mean, that's a life-saving equipment. So it's something I would want to fit correctly, obviously.
How do they get sized?
We go to Guardian and they
Yeah.
take our measurements.
They measure
and then
it for
they
it.
order the panels.
Yeah.
Okay. I just wondered about that.
I think I have a uniform book at home I can give you.
Because they are designed to expand a little bit on the sides.
They are, and I
I know.
actually brought in my current vest and it's maxed out.
No, I mean, but just to say when because when they design one and they make one, obviously it's designed to, retract and open up for, because everybody stays the same weight throughout their career. And those would be my questions to be answered before we move forward. Because if there's a possibility that you can continue to patrol, then I think that's an option. But if that's not an option for us, then I think we should look at what is available for us to do.
Officer Hill, your attorney had mentioned a vacation. When does that start?
Saturday.
Saturday?
Yep.
This Saturday?
Yes.
That's for 3 weeks?
Yep.
Okay.
When you come back, how far along would that be? How far along would you be then?
Over 6 months or right around over.
And you said Saturday you do dispatch?
On Saturdays, I typically dispatch, yes.
So we have
So we're looking at
two more days, like
Two
Wednesday,
more
Thursday?
Thursday.
Because you said you're off?
This
Friday?
week?
Yeah, this week, yes.
Yeah, I'm working, tomorrow the next day, and then I have the dispatch overtime shift on Friday.
Okay. And you're off, the vacation starts Saturday? Or
That's
just?
correct.
Okay. So we do have some time to, I feel from this board, I think we have some time with Officer Hill being on vacation to kind of research the ballistic vest, if that's even available or feasible for us to obtain one. Also the duty belt as well. The duty belt, it would soon be much easier, something to obtain. And if, we find out that those aren't reasonable for us.
Yeah. Did you, I got another question for you. The duty belt is like the old Sam Brown ones. Did you ever try getting one of the ones for your BDUs? And it's basically a Velcro wrapped around like this.
That is what I wear right now.
That's what you wear right now?
Yep.
Okay, and then you still put the loops to hold it on?
The inner belt goes through
Yep.
the loops, and then the duty belt is velcro to the inner belt, basically. Yep.
Clips on, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Kendall, you have 2 patrol ships left and then a dispatch?
That's right.
Okay, I wanted to make sure that I heard you right, because that's what I was counting, but then I thought you said something different.
We would hope that there could be a temporary modified duty for the next 2 days.
I was going to ask, Chief, is there anything that can be done at the station, in station, for the next 2 days? So we have
We can do something.
a couple days that we can accommodate for, and then we can work on this during vacation?
Absolutely.
Okay, Is that acceptable
Yeah.
to you and your council?
Yeah, I mean, we would like an answer by the time she gets back from vacation, so we don't have to all be here again the day after, for sure, and we know how quickly that time can go. We all know.
Right, and I, speaking for myself, but the other board members can speak up too, I think we'll do our very best to have an answer prior to you returning from vacation. I do think, like you said, you talked earlier about your vest not fitting correctly and things like that. I have concerns with that. So, and as the chief had mentioned, there's definitely something they can look at modifying next couple days of your work week here to not have you on patrol.
Yeah, I guess I would also have some concerns too wearing a used vest, whether it's expired or not, just because they are supposed to be fitted to us, and none of my coworkers ever had to wear a used vest, but now I will have to due to my pregnancy. So that is concerning to me,
Okay.
so.
Well, we wouldn't give you an expired vest.
That's
I
good.
mean, it's just not appropriate to do so. And as I said earlier, looking for a vest that is not expired, or not close to being expired, where you'd have to wear it, but also one that's in proper working order. There's no issues, no problems with it. And I know you're saying, it's used, but, someone that might have wore it before might have only wore it for 2 months. So, and I get what you're saying, it's used, but it's fairly new. And I think it's just saying that this may be something we can look at. We might be able to obtain one from the company, who knows? I mean, that could be an avenue where the company says, yes, we can get one out to you. It'll take us, 3 weeks or a month to get it out to you. We do have one. I have to imagine some of these companies have them on their shelf for that reason. And it does probably take longer to get them through a company versus directly, so. But again, these are just things that I think I like to look into and have answers before we can move forward, at least myself. If we get a vest and, doesn't fit correctly, then doesn't fit correctly. We're not gonna have you wear a vest that doesn't fit correctly. That's my concern right now, that the vest you have on.
So for now, we'll find something for you to do in the station for the next 2 days. Hopefully you'll have a great vacation, and when you come back, we should have some answers.
Okay.
Sorry, I thought you shut this off.
You're fired.
We appreciate that. Understanding, obviously, our position will be, if there aren't answers, we'll figure out what our next, position is going to be. I'm confident that we can have the answer.
Yes.
We should.
Yeah.
I don't see why we wouldn't.
And I'll just say one more time for the record, if there is an undue hardship, I'd like to see what that is.
Understood. Sure.
And I'd like to just tell you, I come from law enforcement. My sister was working at a larger business than what we got here in Granby. She's pregnant twice and she worked her way through it, but so, and I know Detective Lopez, there's one before her, Tina Knightley, was the same way. There's several from Amherst that were out on it. So, hopefully we can get this done.
Thank you.
There's some stuff we gotta look at. I think you have to, Council, I think you heard some of the hardships that were happening.
Well,
Madam Chairman,
Yes.
just in terms of procedure, in order for your board to take any action, obviously you have to have a posted meeting, and depending on what the topic's going to be, we want to make sure. So if the officer's going to be away, one of a couple of things can happen. Your board ordinarily meets in 2 weeks, and I'm expecting that in the next 2 weeks, the chief would be in a position to give you a lot of answers to the questions that are being asked now. But since she's going to be on vacation, I don't know whether she wants to join us by way of this go-to-meeting, video conference, and that's fine. You have a right, regardless of whether she wants it to be open or not, and I'm not telling you you should disregard that, you can do it in executive session. Her counsel has indicated that if this doesn't go well, we're going to be facing litigation, so there's every reason, if you want to conduct your session executively, or you can do an open session, either way, but just at least you ought to have a conversation with her now, because she wants to join your meeting 2 weeks from tonight, if in fact you're in a position to talk about it. And it may be that you won't be then, and maybe do it a week or two later, but just at least have that conversation with her now, because if you're going to be talking about her in a future meeting, ordinarily you want to give her some notice, and if she's away on vacation and you can't reach her, it's better that you talk about it. So you might almost either continue this discussion to your next meeting a couple of weeks from now, or get her to say, fine, I'll either join or I waive my rights.
Okay, thank you, Jack.
I guess,
Oh, you were gonna say something? You were gonna say something?
I was just gonna ask her availability, and whether,
Well, our preference would be to have a decision tonight. Doesn't appear that that's going to happen. And, our preference is to have a decision before her vacation's over. I understand the quandary it might put the town into, and I'd hate to say that my client would be willing to appear during her vacation. I don't think that's probably a realistic option. I would hope that we can find a way around this. Certainly, if we've been willing to waive 48-hour requirement, so long as she's able to appear and be present. And this body certainly has the ability to have a special meeting at any time that's duly noticed. We're willing to take a half-hour break and let you all discuss it as well. You call us back if you want.
or I'd like to have the chief look into the questions that I had, the availability and things like that, and gives him an opportunity to look at what is available for Officer Hill to do too, if for some reason those particular options aren't available. But I'd like to really expedite this as quick as possible, and have a decision prior to you returning from vacation to work, so when you go back to work, you know what you'll be doing. I think that's fair to you. And then I'm hoping that we'll come to, I won't say hoping, I know we'll come to a mutual agreement to make this work. I feel strongly about that, and we just got to figure what the town needs to meet, and what you need to be, where you need to be too. Like I said, there's some questions I had for the chief, and he'll sure be able to get those answers for me. Next question I would have for the chief too, which is I'd like to know the cost involved in filling the positions if need be. And as I think as you spoke to, Attorney Olin, and as well as our attorney spoke to, financially is not really truly, can't just be that hardship. But also I'd like to know that what type of money that would cost, just so that we as a board can take that into consideration when we prepare for, making decisions.
So it's clear that if the board wants to meet one or more times while she's on vacation, that the officer is waiving her right to notice and being present. I'm not putting words in her mouth, I just want to be clear that we got it on the record that that's the case. If it's not, and she wants to join in, you can tell us that now, and we'll make sure that we make that accommodation as well.
We're not at the moment waiving our right to notice and opportunity to be present. We might waive that, I think, if we get the notice. I think I'll certainly be able to be in contact with Officer Hill. Certainly, we all know that you can check an email to see if a notice does come in at least, and then we can maybe make that decision, whether we will waive that. Is that
Okay, so notice will go to her counsel and to her by email, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
And whether it's in person or we could set up the video part of it as well.
Absolutely.
Town Administrator, Chris, you got something to say?
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Kendall, I sent it to your work email address?
Yes, I got that.
Okay, would that be the one I would send it to while you're away, or do you have a personal one that you prefer?
The work one's fine.
Okay.
Okay.
Would you like him to send it to both? Would you prefer
Yeah,
both?
that would be good.
If you could forward me your personal email address, I
Sure,
appreciate it.
sure.
And that way I can make sure.
We'll cover
CC
both.
your attorney, you at both sites, and
Yeah.
try and cover all our bases.
All right.
Council, do you have a business card?
Yeah, I did. I realized that Mr. Martin already has my email because I think I was copied on that, but I can certainly give you all my contact information as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Did you have anything else for us that you wanted to? Okay. So we will get to work on this and see what we can come up with for you.
Thank you.
Have a good vacation.
Thank you very much.
Just quickly before you go, though, the Chief O'Grady will be able to reach out to her and let her know that we'll be doing the next couple days she's on.
Yeah, should
We should be keeping in, so, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Crystal, I'm sorry, I was a minute late. Come on up, Charter Day Committee.
I'm gonna leave you now, is that all right?
Yes,
You're done, Jack.
thank you, Jack.
Good night, everybody, thank you.
Good night.
All right, Crystal Dufresne, Charter Day Committee Chair. I just wanted to, in your folders, there's a list of what the Charter Day Committee has approved so far for this year. It has been, let's see, the last time we had it was in 2019. So as with everything, we're looking at price increases on everything.
Yeah.
So that means that if we try to maintain what we had back in 2019, we're looking at taking money from this, well, next year's Charter Day, basically. So typically, 2019 was the first year that I was chair of the committee, and I had taken over for Micheline. So they usually start off around 26,000 is what she told me, to 30,000 with your starting budget for that year for Charter Day. And that's a revolving account, no taxpayers' money goes into it, it's just whatever we make the year before goes towards the next fair. So currently this year, we're starting off with a little over 19,000. There is a spreadsheet in there for you guys to show you what our expenditures are so far if we maintain what we had in 2019, and then what our revenue is. Again, the revenue is what we're taking in this year with the rides contract, and that's pending town floor approval because it's a 3-year contract with Finelli's. But they're offering us $8,500 for 3 years, which is a lot more than we got from Rockwell. Rockwell was around $6,000 to $6,500. If they had a really good weekend, they would throw a little bit extra money at us.
Thank you, Chris.
At the end of the weekend. But Finelli's just giving us a flat rate of $8,500 for the next 3 years. And that was the only ride company that took the bid, and we put it out to bid 3 times. So, and giving what it was in the past, I think that's a good number. But, so anyways, basically we just kind of need you guys to make the decision for us, what you want us to have, what you don't want us to have, because we are looking at going into next year's budget, and if we go into next year's budget, that means we have less for next year. So do we want to basically have the Charter Day that we wanted, or that we would have had, 2020, and keep everything the same, or do we want to cut back on some of the costs? That's kind of where we were at. We were at a standstill. Like, we can approve, but if the money's not there, the money's not there. And then, do we want to have another Charter Day next year? Obviously, everyone would love to. So we can, maintain what we had back in 2019 and see how much money we bring in and then address it next year. Because we'll have enough, if you look at the spreadsheet, to pay for this year's. It just might cut into what we have for next year.
I didn't see it on here. Do we have an average of what we bring in parking fees?
We don't. That's something that Linda Tees used to have, but she never shared the document with us. And Jen did it in 2019. And Jen did it here. I don't know, you don't have a price.
I was on the treasurer in 2019.
Oh, that's right, there was a...
Yep, we have a different plan for parking to keep better track of it.
Okay, I was just wondering what that would add to, because if I do my math right, it looks like we're only gonna start off about 5,000 for next year.
Right. That is something, I do have Linda's number, I can reach out to her and see what the average was. I know on Friday night and Saturdays, of course, we bring in the most because of the fireworks and if we have trailer trash again, and the truck pulls, that will bring in a lot more in parking fees. Sundays is kind of minimal. I mean, we have the tractor pulls and then the rides from 12 to 5, and that's in one band.
Okay.
That's really it for Sunday.
I mean, I personally, not talking for the board, but personally, I don't want to see things cut because I'm a traditionalist.
Right. Well, but
But I understand where-
we have had it grow in the last couple of years too, that we did have it.
No, and I like that.
Yeah.
I like the big, I like the loud, I like the...
And I think, I just want to look at the sheet. I think yeah, okay, I just wanted to make sure I put the updated, because at first on the spreadsheet, I had the police detail from 2019, but I did put the police detail for the quote that we received from Chief O'Grady this year. And again, of course, that's an estimate. It depends on how fast we can get people out of the park. Otherwise, they have to stay later.
So it's okay, it's done, everyone out?
Well, not necessarily, but we're gonna try this year a little bit better.
I'm looking at some of these things, and I guess I just don't know about them.
Yeah.
Donna Jim.
So Buana Jim is the nice guy in the trailer all the way down on the right-hand side that always has his exotic animals, and he puts on a big show for the kids. He's got his alligator, he's got his birds of prey. He puts on a really, really good show, but he travels here, and I think he went up $500 because of the traveling.
Okay. I'm familiar with the others.
Yeah, there are a couple. I don't believe we have Saturday nights band on here. Teledynes can no longer do it.
Oh, okay.
So we're going to be switching that band out, and I think the band we're switching for is going to be 300, Jen, if the band on Saturday. So there's a little wiggle room on the bands right now because some of them are backing out. So we're trying to find other bands to take their place.
Is there a reason they're backing out?
They double booked.
Okay.
And they didn't realize they double booked.
Okay.
So they're no longer available for that day. It's too many people on the band trying to coordinate the shows. The truck pulls did go up again, or went up this year. So they were 5,500 and now they're 5,700. The fireworks, I actually wanted to talk to you guys about that too. So the fireworks is, typically our budget is 6,000. That's just what we put out to bid. They're gonna give us half of the shots for that money. So that's it, because it's shipping from China. So that's the bad news. Good news.
Oh, the good news, good.
Good news, yeah. I did tell Regina Knickie, which is previously Regina Dufresne, about it, and she was very disheartened by it, and she was, I actually have it here because she asked me to stop by and get it, but she's donating $6,000 to bring the amount of fireworks up to what it should be, because she doesn't want the 50th anniversary of when her family gave the park to the town to be the year that the fireworks are not up to par. Wow. So we're used to a certain show, and she doesn't want that show to not go on this year. So she actually called me and asked me to come and pick up the check to donate it to make the fireworks good this year. So.
That is very awesome.
Very generous.
Yes.
Yeah,
Very,
absolutely.
very generous. Thank you. I actually had a question about the fireworks.
Yes.
And it was about the contract with them.
Yes.
I think I'm missing a page.
For the liability?
Yeah, actually, the actual contract itself. In item 12, it references cancellations, and it references paragraphs 4 and paragraphs 3 as to what we'd be paying if they had to cancel, but I don't have, I go from 2.3 to 7, so I'm missing everything in between.
It was scanned.
Well, it's not here, and I just
So you
printed
go
it
from
out.
2.3 to 7?
Yeah.
I just copied it today.
So I was just wondering
Yeah, I
what
have it
the,
right here.
I was just
This
wondering
is
what
the
the,
original one, so I
the
can make a
fee would
copy.
be if canceling when.
Well, so what we're doing is we're in negotiations because we don't, if they should cancel for Saturday, nobody wants to stay on Sunday for a long show. You know, the fair ends at 5.
Right.
Then we're talking about longer police details and Sunday's double time, right?
Time and a half.
Time and a half. So we're talking about big bucks if we have it on Sunday. So we are trying to, if it should be canceled on Saturday, also pending your approval, which I haven't even brought that to the Charter Day Committee yet, but we're thinking of doing it during Dino Fest.
I was gonna say, could we reschedule to a different date entirely?
Yeah, so we were thinking September for Dino Fest. So he would have it on the Commons, and then we could have the fireworks at night, because that's a Saturday that he normally doesn't. So we're thinking about doing something like that, unless you guys think later on in the summer, but I don't know. No matter what, if they have to cancel, let's cross our fingers and hope they don't.
So what that base, is that like, what would be the reasons for cancellation? Just rain? And what's the cost if they cancel? Or we cancel?
They make the call that morning, or the fire marshal does, sorry, makes the call that
Okay.
morning, whether or not the fireworks are gonna be shot that day.
Okay.
Once the call is made, then, as far as I've been told from Sarah Bergeron at Atlas, there's no cost towards the town. It's just we reschedule for a later date. So they'll pick up their fireworks, they'll take them with them.
Okay.
And then we reschedule for another date.
Okay.
So that's what we're kind of trying to negotiate, is what date we're gonna reschedule it for. She's like, have you thought about having it Friday night maybe, if you know that rain's coming on Saturday? Have you thought about it having Sunday? Or, because originally in our RFP, we had said the weekend of Dino Fest, which I believe was September 9th.
I mean, personally, I'd like to try to schedule it maybe the Friday night, because I think, 2 reasons. I think you received a very generous donation for the fireworks surrounding the 50th anniversary that the property was donated to the town. So I think if there's a way to actually make it happen during that particular weekend, I think that's what we should try to do.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Okay, so it wasn't just me. Okay, so, I'm sorry. So you said that if we have to postpone them, they're not charging us if we choose a different date?
Correct. As long as so she said, this is the contract that we have now. Once we come up with a rain date, she'll redo the contract with the rain date in it.
That's right.
Okay,
But this
only
is the
because when I was
contract
looking at
pending it.
this, it said that, if they, say they had already set up and we have to cancel due to weather, we would have to pay them the expenses not to exceed 30% of the display.
Okay.
So I just want to make sure that,
Yeah, I think she
Yeah.
was waiting for us to figure out the rain date first, and then she was gonna change that in the contract. So she just
Okay.
sent us her standard one with the amount on it.
okay,
So this isn't one that needs to be signed today because we don't have the rain date on here.
Right.
But they do want the $3,000 deposit should we choose them as a company by May 2nd. So,
Is this going to be a $12,000 contract, which is a $6,000?
so I asked her how she wanted to set that up since the $6,000 was coming from an outside person, and she said she can set it up either way, just let her know. She could put it in Regina Knicky's name, or she can put it in the town's name. So what Regina did is she just handed me the check. She wrote it out to the town of Granby, and then in the CC down at the bottom, or the comments down at the bottom, she just wrote Fireworks Charter Day Committee.
Right. So can that be donated to
Donated to, because I don't want
to
it
Charter
running
Funds
for
Committee?
liability purposes.
The fund, right? Yeah, so go right into the fund. I'd rather have that than it shows where it went. And then now, there's no, that the contract stays between the town and them. It's
Right,
not,
and
it's
she
not
doesn't have to worry
a
about
second
that.
party paying for
We
it.
don't want to have to
Yeah.
put anything on her.
Yep.
Right.
She's been very gracious.
So Glenn, what was your proposal? Have it on
Friday night.
Friday night?
So have
And the rain date
fireworks.
being Saturday night?
No, I think it'd regularly be Saturday, so if it's, if they're calling for rain Saturday, then change it to Friday.
The day before.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's their availability, right?
And that means a lot of people needed for parking that night.
Okay.
Between the truck pulls. Oh,
That won't work.
that won't work, you're right. It won't work because
Truck
we
pulls
have,
on the Taylor Street side of two trains.
and we have to rope off with snow fencing, that whole area, so nobody from the park all the way past the horse corral can be in that area. And it's gonna be loaded with truck pulls if we change the date to that day.
That won't work.
So what we
So-
need is a guarantee for nice weather for Saturday.
Someone do the Sunday.
Yep.
So should that happen, if it does rain, do you guys want Sunday then? So it stays on that weekend, or do we want to move it? I know,
mean, I'm not a
it's gonna
fan of-
stink either way.
No, I mean, it's nice Saturday because most people don't have to work on a Sunday.
Right.
So if we do it on a Sunday night, then I think it creates, a lot of people, being up later at night, and especially with the kids and things like that.
Next day, yeah.
And there is school.
There is school the next day.
There's school until the 15th.
That's like goes to when, the
The
15th?
15th.
Why can't we maybe do it like on the 4th of July holiday or something like that, have the fireworks?
That's what I was thinking.
If we couldn't do it,
Would that
But
be?
that day.
yeah, I want to keep it in honor of the new frames being the 50th.
Well, I do, but I think keeping it closer to the day,
Yeah.
My concern with 4th of July is there are so many people that have their 4th of July fireworks. Would we have anybody even coming?
I believe people would rather stay locally to go to the fireworks than go to another town to see the fireworks. I think people, if they have the opportunity to stay here in Granby versus going to
I mean, that's
East
why-
Hampton, Amherst, or something like that, I'm
That's
sure
why
they
all the
will.
towns stagger them.
They do, but they have them on the same nights. They can only stagger them so
We would be
much.
looking at July 2nd
You know.
or July 3rd,
Yeah.
because July 4th is a Monday.
Yep.
Yep. I mean, I still prefer a Saturday night.
That's the second.
Yeah, if we do it in July.
But also keep in mind with that comes the costs associated with the police detail too, which is just gonna be the cost, whatever it may be, I mean, that's gonna happen regardless whenever we do it.
And I believe if it's sprinkling, they'll still shoot the fireworks off, it's just if it's downpouring, they won't.
Yeah. And the next question is, with that being the holiday weekend, are they unavailable to do it that weekend?
Right.
Because they may already have
Because they have to see their
commitments.
availability.
Because that's true, so, we might end up with a different date anyways.
Yeah.
Most likely, I would think they would have obligations
That
already
could
for
be a
that.
problem, because I'm sure they're booked,
Yeah.
everybody who does that stuff's booked that whole
Yeah.
weekend, starting from Friday all the way through.
And we need to have the contract signed by May 2nd. Where did April go?
You're in it.
Although we have to get the contract updated first.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
She's
So it's
really
a-
fast, so if I email her tomorrow, she'll have it to me by tomorrow.
Right, so, 'cause I was thinking if we got a list of, if we had a list of potential dates, you could then go to her and say, look,
Yeah.
these are our, which are you already booked,
Right.
instead of having to go back and forth.
Move it to August,
Could do a Labor Day weekend.
or even that, yeah.
It's not a, Labor Day weekend's not a
I
big,
think we need to call, find out what their availability
Yeah.
is on the holiday.
that would play a factor too, obviously, yeah.
Yeah,
Like, yeah,
we could go out under nice summer, finish it up with fireworks,
yeah.
When is Dinah Fest?
the 9th.
September 9th?
I'm gonna look real quick on Saturday, because, he has probably.
Is it for suggested
The
Labor
10th
Day?
is the 10th,
The 10th?
yeah.
That Saturday, yeah. Because if we're suggesting Labor Day weekend, then what's going out one more week?
Where would they set them up?
So they would still have to set them up at the
At
park.
different-
Because we need the wide open
Yeah.
space.
Yeah.
Doesn't say that's too tight there.
No, and we would still have to fence it off with the snow fencing and everything too. So it's a lot of extra work for the committee, so let's cross our fingers and hope Saturday happens.
Yes, I
Yeah.
agree.
Extra work and extra money with the police detail too. But I'll ask for July 2nd, I'll ask for Labor Day weekend, I'll ask for
Yeah.
September 10th.
I'm just wondering too, like, you know, did like Labor Day weekend, the Saturday or something like that, if you could bring in maybe a couple of food trucks or something like that, that would,
Food truck Saturday.
that would kind of like, you kind of bring a little bit more to it with the fireworks, yeah.
Revenue too.
Yeah.
To help pay
Yep.
for these details.
Yep. Like, you know, people always like, you know, grab something to eat.
Yeah, is anyone opposed to June 25th? The 11th is obviously the Saturday that we would like it to be, and then we can do the 18th or the 25th if we wanted to stay, or the 25th, I was figuring that could be like the first,
I'll be
it
gone.
would be like the first fireworks, okay, to kick off July 4th. So say they're booked July 2nd, June 25th would be the weekend before.
Yeah, I have no problem with that.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
if it works, it works.
That's close to Charter Day too, so.
Yeah.
Film it for me. I'm on vacation.
I'll take some pictures for you, Rick.
Thanks. Appreciate it. I'm on a video.
Video.
Have you seen this stuff though?
It's older than mine.
Not just about.
I think I might have cell
G
phone.
cam.
Why? It's on
Film
cell
it.
phone.
And I'll be able to watch it online.
So it's cracked, got dropped.
But isn't your camera right there?
Break that up.
Right there.
Oh, your front camera.
Oh, that works.
Oh, okay.
Right, so I think, other than what's on that, we don't have sponsors listed on here as our revenue. We had $1,000 donated from Polish National Bank in 2019 for the 2020 year. So instead of getting that sponsorship, I should say, back, they let us keep it. So that's included in the $19,757 that we have to start about. So, and we've had a couple other sponsors as well, and Jen, I don't think we have that list, do we?
I sent it to you.
Oh, you did, okay. Let's see who else our sponsors are. So the problem with the money that we're bringing in too is we don't get the sponsors like we used to either. So, I think at one point they were almost $6,000 worth of sponsors, and we don't have, we've got 3, I think, from this year.
Is it, people just stopped sponsoring or they dropped their sponsorship?
They just, so it's not guaranteed every year. We send out a letter and
Right.
they either send money in or they don't, and we'll send them out twice. So we sent them out twice this year, and we sent them out to new ones that have donated to other committees that we're in and stuff, and just nobody sends it in. Well, mine's not opening, Jen's.
So the fireworks, so we had a $6,000 donation,
Yeah.
but you plan on spending how much?
We always spend 6,000,
Right.
so that's always been the amount that we spend.
But they went up.
They went up, so they were giving us half the shots that they were going to give us back in 2019 when I compared the two proposals. And so I called and spoke to Warren from American Thunder, and he said, unfortunately, it's the shipping cost, it's the best that we can do. Atlas gave us a couple more shots than American Thunder
Yeah.
did, so the committee decided to go with American Thunder instead.
Yeah, so that amount is gonna get us up to the normal.
What it would have been
what it
in
would have been.
2019.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. That will get us up to 4,700 around their shots, whereas before we were at a little under 23 with the $6,000. Yeah, it was
That would have been very weak.
What
Yeah.
band do you have? What band do you have this year?
bands, so that's on that spreadsheet. So
Yeah, I
we
think
have
I
Sarah Perry Perez for Friday, or Perez Perry, and Trailer Trash. Those are the two bands for Friday night. Then Saturday, we're still working on the 8 to 10:45, but we have Midlife Crisis and Bared Souls was going to be Sunday, right, Jen?
There's one Sunday, the tail ends is not on the list, it's not updated, but we have, Nice Shirt Band on Saturday night. We didn't go for a higher priced band on Saturday night, banking on the fact that we have the fireworks, and that's where we get all the people coming in, so I'm kind of nervous about moving the fireworks to a different date, because then we won't get as many attendees, and then we're gonna be able to pay for parking, which is the only way.
No, got it.
Just guarantee some nice weather, and we don't gotta worry about the fireworks.
What about Cottonwood?
We did reach out to them, and they're, I don't believe they were one of the bands that got back to us. They've played in the past at Charter Days too.
I'll speak to their drummer. To get on it.
But we also have a new email too, so before we closed the other email, we had the automatic email sent back to them letting them know of our new email address, because we have one with the town now. So I don't know if they're replying to us on the old email, which very well could be, but it should just keep bouncing back that it's not valid.
Okay, I'll see him this week if he comes in.
Okay. Yeah, it should just bounce back letting them know that we don't use that email anymore.
What is your new email? So what's your new email?
It's Granby Charter Days at granby-ma.gov.
Granby dot what?
Granby-ma.gov.
Oh, okay. Got it.
And our website is the website underneath the town of Granby. So you just go to committees and the Charter Day Committee.
You'll know.
And then it will go right there.
Checking on that.
Yeah. And then we don't have the golf carts, we don't have a quote yet from him. I was still waiting to hear back from a quote for the golf carts, so that price isn't on this list right now. And then Waste Management is going to donate a 30-yard dumpster for the weekend. So that's going to be delivered on Friday morning, and it will be picked up Monday morning.
Do we have an estimate on what the golf carts would be?
I don't,
Okay.
not with gas prices and everything else.
Well, that was my, because
They're not electric.
they're not electric.
We have nowhere to plug them in. Well, I guess we could plug them in on the drop boxes at nighttime, but they don't, electric golf carts don't last that long for the amount of driving that we're gonna have to do that weekend back and forth from entrance to entrance, at least every 2 hours for new people to be dropped off with new pouches for the parking. But the gas that they put in the golf carts lasts us all weekend.
Just curious, who told you that the electric cars wouldn't last?
My father-in-law has one, and it doesn't last that long, and he put a brand new battery in it several times.
I'm just wondering if you...
I don't know if maybe he has a lemon.
Well, I'm just wondering if, like, the newer ones, obviously on the golf course, they last entire days.
Electric ones or
And
solar
a lot of
ones?
them are electric now, and they last the entire day. You know, and that's from probably, 8 in the morning till 7, 8 o'clock at night.
Okay.
And they,
We're gonna-
obviously,
We're gonna be going from 6 to 11.
How many do you
yeah.
need?
But, I mean, on the golf cart, they're continuously always going.
Okay.
So just, it might be just a question to ask, because
Yeah.
you might find out the electric might be a little less expensive,
Okay.
but then again, it may not be.
Yeah.
So,
How many do we need?
4 of them.
4?
This is an older company too that we've been dealing with for years, so I wonder if he even has them, so would have to go to, which we can go to another company and check and see how, get a
Yeah.
quote from them and
Whatever's-
see how much the electric.
I would say whatever's the best price for you.
Yeah.
What about the local golf courses? Would they let us rent for?
Probably not,
Why not? They've had extras.
Because
because
they're busy time.
Yeah.
to go.
it's a liability if they get broken or something like that.
Not for a golf
Westover
cart.
or
Yeah.
No, not for a golf cart, because I had the same thinking, like it's the weekend, they're gonna need them.
Slam, yeah.
But, I could, just to see, hey, maybe they'll donate one or two.
Yeah, doesn't hurt to
I
ask.
know.
You don't ask, the answer's always no.
Yeah, this always comes with the liability.
I was gonna say,
They where
then
you
they
you
would-
break it.
And then they would have to get it to us, because the guy, the cart guy is the company that we've been going with, he drops it off and picks it up.
Right, it's just,
So we don't, so.
He transports it.
Yeah, so who brings it to us?
well, that's it, you're not worried because the liability, and everything goes with the cart rental. You're not
Right.
worried about, all that stuff. If
Right.
the cart gets broken, drives into the pond, stuff like that.
Don't jinx it. If anything happens, it's his fault.
All right, so as far as the Charter Day Committee, moving forward, we're staying status quo? Is that what you guys want us to do?
That's what I'd like to
Yeah,
do.
that's why not.
And then, we'll address next year.
Let's hope we have a stellar year,
Yes.
because starting off with 5,000 is not...
We should have more than 5,000, I don't think.
Well,
we'll
once
get that
parking fees will be...
And we still don't have vendors on here either, which a vendor
Yeah.
for the full weekend is 150. So let's hope we at least get 10 paying vendors.
Has the committee looked at doing anything like special because it's 50 years?
I'm actually meeting with the Dufresne family in 2
Okay.
weeks.
Because it'd be nice to somehow, recognize that and do something a little special than normal.
Yeah. I know the family wants to do something, so I'm waiting to see what they want to do.
Right.
I know they want to get a tent and stuff there. So, besides, I don't know what their ideas are, to be honest with you.
No, but-
So,
Be nice to somehow recognize it though.
yeah.
Then that night too, so.
And then another thing for cost that I'm looking into right now is the advertisement. So we usually go on iHeartRadio, and we usually spend $1,000 on advertising on iHeartRadio, which is 100.9. And then we usually do Laser 99.3 and 102. So their budget, you usually do 1,000 for iHeart and 900 for Laser 99.3. And we also usually do a Truly publication for $725. So those prices are not added to that list yet because I didn't know what we were going to do, so I didn't send them our schedule yet for them to come up with an advertisement, and they said they'll let us know if their rate went up, because it's been a couple years since we had that. So we still have a couple other expenditures that aren't on there. And then, of course, I went to GRANBY Country Grain and spent $400 on steaks, caution tape, gloves, stuff that we needed for the weekend of the fair as well. So that's also expenditures that will go on that list as well.
That $5,000 is dwindling down quickly.
I know some of this stuff isn't even on that list yet. Those were just the big ticket items. So,
No, but I would imagine you have a big turnout because, people have been waiting in
Yeah.
the past couple of years and,
yeah.
you have people that probably moved into town over the past couple of years too, kind of wondering what it's all about. I think it'll be a good weekend.
Yeah, I think so too. At GRANBY Country Grain today, they were saying the same thing. They're like, what is that? There was a couple of people
Yeah.
there, like you said, that are new to town.
Yep.
They're like, oh, we can't wait to, we can't wait for it to happen.
Yeah.
Can't wait to go. So hopefully,
Be nice.
like you said, it's gonna be a good turnout.
I think Rick's gonna be out of town. Right.
No.
No, the 25th.
That's the end of the 25th,
Yeah.
they'll be coming home on the airplane.
Oh, okay.
I hope.
Until it's canceled.
All right, so I think, am I all set?
Yeah.
Is there anything more you have for us?
I don't think so. But I know the police detail and the beer tent's next, so.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Crystal.
I'll keep it if you don't need it back.
I can put that.
Okay.
All right. The local licensing authorities of the within-named city or town have approved pursuant to the provisions of Chapter 138, Section 14, issuance of a special license as described herein. City, Town, Granby, date of local authority approval, Form 1822 for June 11th, 2022. Name of licensee, Granby American Legion, DBA 266 Lounge, Inc., 74 Pleasant Street, Granby, Mass. 01033. Effective date of license, June 11th, 2022. Authorized hours of sales, 12 p.m. to 10:15 p.m., June 11th, 12 p.m. to 10 p.m., 2 drinks per person, 10 p.m. to 10:15 p.m., 1 drink per person. Dufresne Park area, Kendall Street side for Charter Day, and confined to designated tent no larger than 40 by 80 area with only 1 entrance and 1 exit. Wine and malt beverages only, non-profit. Restrictions attached to the license by the local authority. Police officers must be on duty as assigned by the police chief at all times. Beer and wine is to be consumed only within the contained fenced-in area with only 1 entrance exit. The checking of patron IDs is the responsibility of the licensee. Under 21 years of age is allowed inside the tent area when accompanied by a legal guardian from 12 o'clock p.m. to 4 o'clock p.m. No one under 21 years of age is allowed inside the tent area after 4 o'clock p.m. Hour of sale, 6/11/22, 12 o'clock p.m. to 10:15 p.m. Is there a motion, please?
Make a motion to approve the 2-day liquor license as stated by our chairman.
Do have a question though.
Do you want to second it, then we can discuss it? Or no?
No, yeah, I can second the motion.
All right, is there any discussion? No, you can have your question.
Is that, Chief, is that the same, or to the, who's representing the lounge? Is that the same they did in 2019? Nothing's changed, right?
Correct.
Right? Okay, all right. It sounded like the same, I just want to make sure that it's the same that we used, okay. So 3 people say it's the same?
I guess it's the same. Is that it for discussion?
I'm good, yeah. Just
All
wanna
right,
make sure.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, that's all set, Chris.
Before we move on, can we just request a 3-minute recess, so I can just go get a couple of waters, so,
Of course, we'll take a 3-minute recess. Slightly longer than the 3 minutes I promised, but I'm going to call the meeting back to order. Did we have any citizen participation? Yes?
Well, Mr. Randall was going to come here, Mr. David Randall, regarding a issue he's had with hunters on his property, and I believe going on the town with Granby Conservation. And he had sent an email to me asking if the town had prohibited hunting on other conservation land in the past. He had been told that. I believe we prohibited it on our Partika area out at Dufresne, or not Dufresne,
The landfill.
no, the Porchmont, Partika reservation area. Because people were going out there and wanting to hunt out there. And actually, they're coming from out of state hunting, and we said, no, we didn't allow it. Because that was supposed to be for passive recreation only. And the issue is environmental police will not enforce no hunting unless you have the property posted with no hunting signs. And Mr. Randall also had asked if the board would consider creating a general bylaw requiring that nobody could hunt on private property without the homeowner or the property owner's permission.
So his concern is not hunting on town-owned land, it's hunting on his private property.
And because I think he abuts our property.
Because they're entering from our land? Well, we can't enforce people, that would be,
I believe
You have
the
to
law
post
is
it,
hunting on,
Yeah.
if you post your land, it has to be, the four corners of your land has to be posted, not just the side face from the street or where it's convenient. You gotta go all the way around, because nobody, if you're walking through the woods, you will not know where you are on his land. And the sign's gotta be X amount of distance apart. Kevin, is it 40 feet apart? You know, top of your head?
I have to double check.
I believe it's 40 feet.
It's a very relatively short distance.
All the way around
Yeah.
the four corners of the person's property.
So I think the other question is does this board want to consider entertaining a potential general bylaw prohibiting hunting on privately owned property without the property owner's permission?
My answer is no, because I don't think we need it.
well, I'm
If he
just,
posts it properly.
I'm just still confused how a bylaw would have anything to do with a
I
person's
think he
private
was
property.
getting some statements from environmental police that if there was a bylaw, then it can be enforced. Other than that, unless it's posted, like you said, so many feet,
Through the four corners, yep.
then they can't enforce it.
Well, instead of guessing, when we follow up with town council
Yeah, and
to
ask
find out
them.
what is the requirements that if we work and consider a bylaw, what would it have to state? And go there first.
And would it even be effective?
Yeah, well, Mr. Randall indicated he was coming to the meeting.
Yeah.
I think he forgot.
That's all right.
That's okay.
But at least that we're not speculating what everything is. We'll actually have the law and go from there.
I really don't think you need it. I think if Mr. Randall wants no hunting on his property, there's a law in the books posted. We don't need anything else beyond that. I think it's redundant.
Well, he's actually asking the select board to consider a general bylaw not allowing people to hunt on private property unless it's posted to hunt or not to hunt.
Not to hunt. Well, actually, the way I understand, okay, because I got this, I didn't get this directly from environmental police, but according to Mr. Randall, he indicated that if we have a bylaw prohibiting hunting without the property owner's permission, they can enforce it. If we don't have a
So it
bylaw,
doesn't have to be posted.
then, right, then it has to be posted.
Okay. So it's actually protecting more so the private,
I think there's a law on the books, and Kevin, correct me if I'm wrong, that you can, it'd be considered trespassing without, permission. Somebody's on your
Yeah, it
property,
has to be posted.
Has to be posted.
Has to be posted.
it has to be posted also.
no. So when you have a bylaw in place that's enforceable.
I don't think we need it.
But how is somebody supposed to know the bylaw? If they're not even from
We'll
town?
find out when the
Yeah,
environmental police.
how's everybody supposed to know every single law that's on the books?
Well, that's what I'm saying, so
Right.
it would make more sense just post it. No trespassing, no hunting.
But we all know from the signs we put up at our parks, that people come in and just tear them down.
I'm just looking at
Well, there is
some,
that too.
where, if you look at this from landowner, it takes the burden off of them. It's easy enough for them to say, yes,
It's posted.
so-and-so,
Most hunters do their homework, though.
yeah.
If you're a true hunter, you do that.
You would That's,
There's a bylaw that.
Right, a lot
He wants it posted and tell you, you can't have anybody on your property.
no, he doesn't.
That's what it
He's,
sounds like to me.
he's saying so that if I want someone to hunt on my land, I can give him permission to do so. And a lot of towns have that type of.
If you're a good hunter, you ask permission to hunt on it, I mean, but if you're coming in through the thick woods and you accidentally stroll onto somebody's property that's not posted correctly,
I'm not a hunter, so I don't know, but I would just say ask Brian if a bylaw is necessary. And if that makes any difference in how things are treated.
Well, it will make a difference, because now, so now instead of my property, instead of having, if you had a bylaw that says people are not allowed to hunt on private property unless you have permission, means someone can't just come on my property and start hunting.
that's a Massachusetts law. I don't think a bylaw can cover that.
Well, again, I don't want to speculate, that's what I'm saying, to
Ask
reach
Brian.
out to Brian and find out.
That's what we pay him for. Okay.
I was making it what Mr. Randall was saying. I believe that's what he's saying.
I believe that's what you're trying to say.
I believe he can go around and post his property.
Okay, we'll just ask Brian about that. Was there anything else regarding?
Non-interested.
Okay, let's go to departmental reports.
How about Ukraine rentals?
Oh, I missed that because I put Mr. Randall under Duke instead of citizen participation. It was one step down. Let's go to Dufresne Rentals.
You're close. Okay. First one is we have a birthday party on May 21st, 2022, arriving 1 p.m., departing 6 p.m. No liquor is authorized. It's the #1 small pavilion on the playground side. Then we have GAA, Brown Elson Park, from April 15th to June 30th, 2022, Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m., Saturday and Sunday, 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. Maximum number of people is 50, and it's for the baseball field for grades 5 and 6. Then we have GAA, April 15th to June 30th, 2022, Tuesday and Wednesdays, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m., Saturday, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Number of people, 30. Baseball fields, #1 and #2 for coach, pitch, and t-ball. Then we have GAA for Dufresne's, April 15th to June 30th, 2022. Monday, Thursday, Friday, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday and Sunday, 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. Maximum number of people, 30. Baseball fields, #1 and #2 for grades 3 and 4. GAA softball, April 15th to June 30th, 2022. Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday and Sunday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Maximum number of people, 50. Softball field #3 for grades 3 and 4. Then we have GRANBY Charter Days, June 6th to June 14th. Arrive June 6th, 7 a.m., depart June 14th, 5 p.m. Number of police to be determined by the police chief. Liquor authorized to be determined. Maximum number of people in any town celebration of charter. It's the entire Dufresne Park area. And we have the Granby Music Pant Association. It is a fundraiser on October 8th, 2022, arriving 12:30 p.m., departing 6:30 p.m. Liquor authorized, no. Maximum number of people, 300. For the parking lot area, open field, wooded areas on either side of the open field and pavilion. That's all.
Okay. Now we go into departmental reports. Has everybody had a chance to see them?
I have seen them.
Is there a motion?
Make a motion that we accept the departmental reports.
I'll second Rick's motion.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Maintenance warrants.
We have 3 warrants. Warrant number 62, dated 4/8/2022, in the amount of $266,358.76. That is a bill-paying warrant. Warrant number 63, dated April 15th, 2022, $425,848.96. That is a payroll warrant. Then we have warrant number 64, dated April 15th, 2022, in the amount of $92,489.74. And that is the maintenance warrant that goes with the payroll warrant.
Motion?
I do.
I make a motion that we approve and sign the maintenance warrants number 62, 63, and 64.
I'll second Rick's motion.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Annual town meeting and election warrant.
The annual town meeting is scheduled to be held Monday, May 9th at 7 p.m. at the East Middle Elementary School on East State Street. Article 1, to see if the town will vote to approve the consent agenda as follows. 1A, to see if the town will authorize the select board to conduct the following activities for fiscal year 2023. To sell at the first giving notice of time and place of sale by posting such notices of sale at some convenient and public place in the town 14 days at least before the sale. Property taken by the town under tax title, land of low value procedure, provided the select board, or whenever they authorize to hold a public auction, may reject any bid deemed inadequate. To apply for and accept federal, state grants or monies as may be made available, and to allow the select board to expend any funds received as set forth in the appropriate application. And to enter into a contract with the Massachusetts Highway Department for the construction and maintenance of public highways for the ensuing year. 1B, see if the town will authorize the various departments to receive compensation for services rendered fiscal year 2023 as follows. Cemetery commissioners to dig graves and maintain the equipment and grounds for the cemetery at a wage rate that is no less than the minimum wage. Members of the Board of Assessors to be compensated $15 per parcel for necessary field work and data collection for services rendered in connection with the revaluation and recertification process involving 1/6 of the improved parcels in town. Members of the Board of Health or their consultants to receive compensation at a wage rate of $35 per inspection for specific required activity. Members of the planning board or their appointees to receive compensation at a wage rate of $65 per inspection. 1C, to see if the town will vote to authorize the Conservation Commission to charge a fee of $75 for each site inspection deemed necessary by a quorum of the commission. Fees shall be payable to the town of Granby Conservation Commission and deposited in the Conservation Tax Fund or take any other action regarding thereto. 1D, to see if the town will vote to accept the following gifts in calendar year 2021 for perpetual care cemetery lots. Richard P. and Marie S. Hooker, $775. Susan Luke, $775. Nancy Archambault, $775. George and Brenda Knight, $1,565. Jeffrey Cason and Mary Mislak Cason, $1,565. Lynn and Emile La Liberty, $1,565. Joseph A. and Karen Dumas, $1,565. Michael and Valerie Flaherty, $1,565. Carlton T. Nash, $1,565. Jennifer R. and Glenn E. Bolio, $3,145. Suzanne Brunel, $775. Reynold and Colette Turgeon, $35. Carol E. and Wilfred B. Roy, $25. Donald A. and Shirley Rousseau, $3,145. Nancy J. and Andrew P. Price, $575. Sherry and Dwayne Shepherd, $1,565. Robert H. Bontempo, $1,565. Catherine E. Partridge, $1,565. Eric Zepke and Wendy Adams, $1,565. Charles and Esther M. Ferguson, $1,565. Pamela J. and Anthony J. Morion, $1,565. 1E. Town to vote to authorize expenditures from these revolving funds for fiscal year 2023 without further appropriation. Parks Oversight Revolving Fund, from which the Parks Oversight Ad Hoc Committee may spend $40,000 revolving fund monies. A Charter Day Revolving Fund, from which the Charter Day Ad Hoc Committee may spend $50,000 revolving fund monies. A Planning Board Fees Revolving Fund, from which the Planning Board may spend $50,000 in revolving fund monies. An After School Activities Program Revolving Fund, from which the Superintendent of Schools may spend $20,000 in revolving fund monies. A Dog Revolving Fund, from which the Police Chief may spend $13,570 in revolving fund monies. A Library Revolving Fund, from which the Library Commissioners may spend $2,000 in revolving fund monies. 1F. The town vote to authorize town departments to enter into agreements in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 4A, for the fiscal year 2023. 1G. The town vote to allow the Board of Selectmen to appoint a member of the Board of Selectmen to a position that is under the supervision of the Board of Selectmen, as allowed under Mass General Law, Chapter 268A, Section 21A. 1H. The town vote to amend the bylaws of the town of Granby, Volume 2, Chapter 19, Personal Bylaw, Appendix D, Compensation Plan, Pay Schedules, and substituting a new Appendix D showing the 9 pay grades and 10 steps to be effective July 1, 2022. Copies of Chapter 19, Appendix D are available in the Select Board's office. The Personnel Board had voted a 4% cost of living increase for this 1 year due to the inflation that has been going on for this 1 year. Article 1I, raise and appropriate the sum of $239,651 or a greater or lesser amount as its apportioned share for the fiscal year 2023 budget for the Pathfinder Regional Vocational Technical High School District. 1J, to see if the town will vote to transfer from available funds the sum of $274,389 or a greater or lesser amount authorized under Chapter 291 of the Acts of 2004 for highway construction and improvements defined under Chapter 90 of the General Laws. 1K, the town vote to raise and appropriate, transfer from available funds, transfer from the stabilization fund, borrow or bond, $175,000 or a greater or lesser amount for the purpose of funding the town's other post-employment benefits, OPEB, liability. And if you remember right, at the last meeting, that was about $36 million at this point in time. So, Article 2, see if the town will vote to rescind borrowing authority for the funding of the extension of the water line from South Hadley down Route 202 to Finns Hill and Pleasant Street to Morgan Street project as voted under Article 6 of the February 4th, 2019 special town meeting. That was the borrowing for the Route 202 water main, and due to the fact that we have voted to delay that, we're just taking the authorization off the books. Article 3, vote to approve a 3-year contract with Finelli Amusement Company for the provision of amusement rides for the annual Charter Day celebration. Article 4, the town vote to raise and appropriate transfer from available funds, transfer to stabilization fund, borrow or bond $1,337,414 or a greater or lesser amount for the purpose of funding the renovation of the junior-senior high school gymnasium HVAC and boys-girls locker rooms to be expended upon the unanimous vote of the Select Board Finance Committee Subcommittee. The reason I want to explain this, actually this is going to apply to number 5 too, so let me read that also. Town will vote to raise and appropriate, transfer from available funds, transfer from the stabilization fund, borrow or bond $1,050,000 or a greater or lesser amount for the purpose of funding the renovation of the junior-senior high school kitchen and cafeteria rooms to be expended upon the unanimous vote of the Select Board Finance Committee Subcommittee. Those 2 items are dealing with repairs to the junior-senior high school. The concern we have here is if we give spending authority to the school only. The problem is that they have applied for an SOI or submitted a statement of interest for the high school again. The issue is, are we going to spend almost $2.5 million on renovations that if we go forward with a project under MSBA, we could be tearing that building down, potentially tearing it down within 5 years. And also, the $1.3 million is the first of 3 phases, and the total renovation cost that you're looking for the gymnasium is about $3.5 million. So the question becomes is, do we just want to spend money and then have it be torn down within 5 years, or do we want to continue forward and look at what do we want to do for the educational needs of our students, grades 7 through 12?
I would like to look at the permanent needs for our students. Go down that road as far as a new school. You know, we're still paying on a roof on West Street School that has been used for how many years now?
Well, as a school.
Well, it's still not being used regardless.
Right.
We're still paying on a roof for an empty building.
Yes, we are. And we just put the new roof on the high school too about 2 years ago at one point.
Right. Yep.
Okay, so do we want to continue to just keep pouring money into a building that we may be looking at tearing down, replacing with a brand new building? And I think that's a valid concern.
I definitely think it's a valid concern. To the point, are we willing to, can we wait a year out? Because I think we'll have more information from the school as far as, you know, where they are, where the town is, as far as, you know, talking about building a new high school. You know, I hate to, you know, then, as you just spoke to, Chris, that, you know, for the gymnasium, you get into that, and it's 1.3 million just to start it. You know, okay, so we start it, and do we continue to move forward, or we just stop it somewhere, and can we stop it after we did certain repairs, or do you need to continue those repairs on that? And then, you know, is that 1.3 million turn into 3.5 million? Because you technically, you know, you can't stop, you gotta finish up the project.
Yes.
And then, you know, a year or 2 years later, we tear down the school. It's just really throwing money away. Where I think a year from now, we'll have a much better knowledge and information as to where we're going with a new school, if that's feasible for the town, and then kind of reevaluate at that point where we are.
You know, and that's a discussion I think that's going to have to occur between the select board, school committee, and finance committee at some point. A joint meeting, probably sooner than later, to find out exactly where the 3 boards are coming from on this whole thing.
Yeah, I have a lot of questions on that, but I agree with Chris.
You know, and that's all. I'm not trying to say it's not needed.
Oh,
I'm
it's
just saying,
needed, but I
hate
don't
to
know if it's
throw
viable.
that type of money into a building, and then with the idea that they're gonna be replacing it through an MSBA project.
How far along, do you think, if that happens and they got the MSBA stuff, how far along before it actually digs the ground and gets going?
So 5 to 7
5, 10 years?
Well, okay.
And the reason I'm asking is because the kids need the gym to play in. Is it that far gone where we, the wood floor to get replaced?
That I don't know. I've been told that it can't be sanded anymore because it's too thin to be.
I've been told the same thing, yeah.
Okay, don't know. But the issue is going to be is this. If we are invited to participate in an MSBA project, the cost of a feasibility study is going to be $3 million. Okay? So we're going to pour $1 million plus another 1.3, and then so another $3 million for a feasibility study before we even find out if MSBA is going to move forward with potential funding of a replacement renovation project on the school. The cost last year for renovation of a high school is $600 a square foot. Rounding up about 90,000 square foot building, we're talking $54 million. For lucky, MSBA will maybe fund half of it, which will mean the town has to vote, are they willing to spend $27 million for a high school project? Big bucks, big money, okay? And MSBA will probably not go forward with a project with us unless we can guarantee that the taxpayers will vote for it. So there's a lot of unanswered questions at this point, that before we start moving forward and spending $6, $7, $8 million on a building.
On temporary repairs.
Yes. It's a question I can't answer off the top of my head.
No, and my other question would be too, is to what needs to be done, as Rick, talked about the gymnasium, the kids have an opportunity to use it and play the sports and there are other areas, reasons to use it for, I think is important. So what amount of money would it cost to keep it with the work, keep it so it's usable for the students at that point? Or is that, is that the 1.3 million that could be 3.5 million? Is that the cost, or is that the overall complete project? Or is there certain things that could be done on a smaller scale so that the gymnasium is available for use throughout the year? I mean, that'd be my question is too, because I truly believe it's important for the kids to have the opportunity to use that.
It's gonna happen, yeah.
Without a doubt.
I agree, totally.
And I hate to have the kids go through a year without being able to use the gymnasium for whatever reasons,
And I agree with you, but the thing is have those questions been asked?
I don't know.
And have those estimates?
Right, I think it's a conversation you spoke to would be the finance committee, ourselves, and the school committee to sit down and talk and kind of go from there.
So,
Hence the reason I think it's written upon unanimous vote of the Select Board Finance Subcommittee.
Article 6 is for $36,440 or a greater or lesser amount for replacement of the hydraulic rescue tools, basically the jaws of life for the fire department. Article 7 is $59,000 to purchase a new car for the fire chief. Article 8 is $47,458 for the purpose of funding the purchase of a tractor. That's the tractor that the Board of Selectmen asked Jeremy to continue to move forward for maintaining the ball fields at Brown Ellison and Dufresne Park. Article 9 is $41,316 for the construction of an equipment storage structure for Public Buildings Department. Currently, we're running out of coverage space for all the equipment for public buildings, because he really doesn't have a garage or any permanent structure at this point in time. And to get the equipment out of the elements, we are requesting this structure to be purchased. Article 10 is $305,000 to purchase a street sweeper for the highway department. Article 11 is $35,000 to purchase a asphalt recycler and hot box trailer for the highway department. Article 12, $56,362 to purchase a marked cruiser. Article 13, $5,000 for the FY23 services of the Pioneer Valley Mosquito Control District. That's become an annual appropriation for the Board of Health. Article 14, $57,000 to fund tuition for Smith Vocational Agricultural High School students. We currently have 3 students attending that facility. Article 15 is $515,922 to operate the Municipal Solid Waste Department. Article 16, $244,710 to operate the Sewer Department. Article 17, $360,377 to operate the Ambulance Department. Article 18, $399,575 for the purchase of a new ambulance. Article 19 is the article for all the individual departmental budgets. Article 20 is to transfer from Capital Equipment Needs Stabilization Fund $152,400 to reduce the funding from tax levy. Article 21, transfer from free cash $412,524 to reduce the funding from tax levy. Article 22 is to transfer from the bond premiums account of $12,483.65 for the purpose of reducing the funding from tax levy. That article there is because when we borrow for the East Middle School, we receive bond premiums. Per the legislation, we have to amortize that over the length of the loan, and this is the amount to be amortized for FY 2023. And then Article 23 is to allow the assessors to raise real estate and personal property taxes.
Chris, how old is our current ambulance?
5 years.
Okay.
But I was told it takes 2 years to build an ambulance, and if they don't have an appropriation, they can't order the ambulance. So that's why we're putting the appropriation in now, knowing that it probably won't be spent for another 2 years.
But then it'll be 7 years old.
Yes. And then the final page is the election warrant that was read by the board at the last meeting. And basically you just need to approve and sign both warrants. And the reason we combine the two together is then it only requires one voter enrollment period for both meetings. For both events.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve and sign the town annual warrants for the town meeting and also for the annual town election warrant.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion? That was a lot to read. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, are there any Charter Day contracts that we do need to sign?
Well, if you want, you can approve them, and give me authorization to sign the budget contracts when they are ready. Is that what the board wishes to do?
Are they time sensitive?
Well, we can sign them at the next meeting if you want.
Yeah, I mean, if we could just wait till next meeting, we can just wait till next meeting and sign it, but they're not time sensitive.
The only thing is on the fireworks one, they wanted the deposit by
May 2nd?
May 2nd, right? May 2nd, which is our next meeting. That's the
Yeah, I don't have any problem with the firework one, but
So do you want me to delay those until the next meeting? So we have all final versions.
I would, so we can see all the versions the board can.
So, that's fine. Just as part of that, just so the board knows, there are food vendor agreements that have been submitted to Charity Day. First one is Poppy's Concessions. You want to know what you're selling, or you just want to know who the vendors are?
What do we sell?
Food.
Okay, Poppy's has one trailer with french fries, gyros, steak, cheesesteaks, and salads. Fries, french fries and toppings, poutine, bacon, cheddar, ranch, etc. Then they have a second one with ice cream cones, sundaes, and milkshakes, and a third trailer with fresh squeezed lemonade, corn dogs, frozen lemonade, coffee, and iced coffee.
You're killing me, Chris, I'm starving.
Then we have, what do you want to hear? Then we have Dino's Concessions. Do you want me to not?
Keep going.
He has sausage grinders, chicken tenders, french fries, fried mozzarella sticks, and hamburgers. Corn dogs and ice cold drinks. Then another one for Dino's Concession. We'll have funnel cakes, deep fried Oreos, deep fried Twinkies, deep fried candy bars, deep fried Reese's peanut butter cups, and then drinks. Then we
Specialty is deep fried.
Then we have Local Burger. Local Burger has hamburgers, french fries, sweet potato fries, fried chicken sandwich, hot dog, lobster roll, veggie burger, turkey burger. Then we have Bruiser's Barbecue, and I believe he's gonna have pulled pork mac and cheese, pulled pork nachos, Black and Blues, Crusher, Final Round, beef brisket sandwiches, pork sandwiches, baked beans, coleslaw, drinks. Then we have Kona Ice of Manchester, shaved ice with flavorings. Then we have Gallo Pinto, which is chicken tacos, El Pastor tacos, Berna tacos, Lazada tacos, grilled beef plato, grilled chicken, grilled pork, Nicaraguan barbecue, burrito, Berna, and Berna quesadilla. Just like
Thanks. If people watching hear my stomach growling, I'm blaming you.
Between the Glen, I don't know what's that.
Then we have Common Vics. There's 3 Common Vics. Common Vic number 22-30 for Dean Elliott, doing business as Dino's Concession, booth number 1. 63 Jackson Street, Northampton, Mass. 01060, fee $25, expiring December 31st, 2022. Number 22-31, Dean Elliott, doing business as Dino's Concessions, booth number 2, 63 Jackson Street, Northampton, Mass. 01060, fee $25, expiring December 31st, 2022. And number 22-32, Dean Elliott, doing business as Dino's Concessions, booth number 3, 63 Jackson Street, Northampton, Mass. 01060. Fee $25, expiring December 31st, 2022.
To make a motion that we approve and sign the common victualler license number 22-30, number 1, expiring 12/31/22. Number 22-31, booth number 2, expiring 12/31/22. Yeah, 22-32, booth number 3, expiring on 12/31/22, all with a $25 fee.
I'll second Rick's motion.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And you said there are no entertainment licenses.
Correct.
Is there any other business anybody has before we go into executive?
I do want to, eventually in the near future, revisit the Parks Committee, because we still don't have a committee for that. So, as we're getting closer to, spring and summer, and I think we should kind of really focus on trying to have some people be part of that, so. That's all I got.
Okay.
Yeah, it sounds good.
I did ask a question on behalf of Regina Kinnicky. She did ask me what she would have to do to be part of the ad hoc parks committee. Because she was unable to come here tonight, so I said I would ask, and I forgot to ask when I was setting up there. So,
Well, lucky I brought it up.
I know.
Submit a letter of interest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
All right, is there anything else?
Yes, Madam Chairman, George Randall, Taylor Street. What's the date of the next board meeting?
May 2nd, I believe? Let me
May
just look at my
2nd.
calendar.
May 2nd, first Monday, in May.
I was good, May 2nd. I can read a calendar this month. All right, in that case, I move that we move into executive session under Mass General Law 30A-21A2 to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel, and we will be returning only to adjourn. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right, in that case, Silva, aye.
Sexton, aye.
Clear eye.
All right, thank you.